This is the video log for Sprint 0.1.1, so release 1, the first sprint out of release 1. Had a lot of things I did this sprint, a lot of programming, so let's get to some of it. First of all, I added the plaza area, which you've seen a walkthrough of, and it's a great job by Bluebell. And we'll start getting in there and modifying some stuff and adding some things in terms of more sit points and so on. But it looks great. The other thing I did is associated with edit. Everything is associated with edit. One of the things I did is you can select in edit, objects in edit, and it uses raycasting. But if you're inside of the host version of the game or the join version of the game, if you're playing the game, it no longer does raycasting, which is the way it should be. I added it so you can change the scale mode now for an object, and instead of just scaling it up or down, you can scale X, Y, and Z axes on a model, or and for that model, a skeletal mesh or a static mesh. The interface looks different now that you can not only position using slider switches, but there's a box right next to it that shows a specific value. So you can change the value. If you can't quite get the exact thing you want on your slider switch, you can put 12.003 in terms of the setting if you wanted to, because 12 didn't work. I added cameras. I added spotlights. I added point lights to be able to put into a scene. I added NPCs. And there's a whole bunch of, you can see a whole bunch of things here that I did. So there's a lot of code associated with this, animations and the NPCs and so on. So if let's go ahead and I've got it launched somewhere here. And I'm going to go into edit mode. So let's go into edit mode and let's go into my basic template. And again, it's a little bit slower than the executable because it's doing it using editor software. So there I am. I'm now in this template. And you saw in some of my previous videos how I could move some of the lights around if I wanted to, the stage around. And these are, the stage and the lights are always will come inside of the template, so they don't have to go ahead and mess with placing those objects. And they can always select on them and delete them if they don't want this many lights. The number of things that we'll be using here, as a props. What you'll see now is props, and if I go look in props, one of the things I'll point out here is I've got in props. Let's look at props. I've got the things you've seen before, so I'll go ahead and add chair, and it adds a chair. And if I select the chair, I can go place the chair, and so on. So. And, whatever, rotate it so it's facing towards me, a chair. So I place, that. And you saw in our previous videos how you can go to the store and select from that store all these whatever objects you want, and it goes and puts it into your inventory. So I had gone and gotten that chair previously. So I'm done with that. I'll go ahead and close it. First of all, let's talk about lights. So I added spotlights and point lights. Now, eventually, these will be in a separate menu. Over here, it says backpack, it'll be lights. But I just didn't do that yet. So it's sitting right now in the props in inventory instead of over here in its own lights inventory. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let's say just add an overall scene light. And what it does is it puts a little mesh out there for light, so you can click on it and select it. And I'll show you some things about that in a minute too. These are called light handles in my term here, so I can move that up. I can move them, back to the left, wrong way, So, and I can change its color, attenuation. I can change its intensity. Ooh, turn it up, turn it down. I can change its attenuation, which of course, does this sort of thing. It makes it how far it'll go. Source radius doesn't really do anything unless you've got a reflective surface. So there you go. So now I've added a point light. Now let's go ahead and add a spotlight. There's a spotlight. Click on it again. These are all separate code because they're separate types of things I have to deal with. But let's move my spotlight over here. And again, I can, let's move him back. And again, the same sort of thing. I can, change its intensity. I can change its color. Let's make him a blue spotlight, kind of slightly blue. You can change its inner and outer cone. I can make it real tight. I can make it real tight if I want to. You can change the attenuation if you want to. So anyway, so there I've got a spotlight now, too. But maybe I need to make it more intense so it's blending more with the yellow light. But again, the point is, it's a spotlight. It's just like placing lights in a scene, no different. Now, if I was to go save this scene, you'd see these lights in here, which you probably don't want most of the time. So I have over here, and this is the settings. This is the third tab. The settings has something called light handles on and light handles off. What that does is it says you can turn them off. So this is what you'll see. You won't see the actual physical lights. But if you want to see them on again, you just turn them on again. So I'll turn them off. And so that's lights. That's props. How about NPCs? I only added myself. I'm playing Moggs, by the way, because I just had that character there. Oops. Oh, damn it. There we go. Usually if you've moved your avatar, it'll put it 3 feet in front of you. I'll probably make sure that happens. Anyway, there's Granddad. And move him back by the chair. I'll stand him next to the chair. Maybe a little bit farther back. Bring him down. Let's scale him. Let's make Granddad fatter. A little wider guy. And let's make him taller too with that. Zip. There is Big Granddad. Let's rotate him. Now he's a little far off the ground now, so I bring him down a little bit. Whoop, too much. Then I can select an animation. He's really excited about what a good job I've done. So there you go. There I've got NPC animated. I'd probably scale up the chair for Granddad, but anyway, there's giant Granddad. And then I had cameras. So let's add a camera. And this is placing cameras. I have a number of different camera options, and I'll do a video about that down the road. But place the camera, and it puts this in here. And I'll move the camera around. Oop, down here, let's move him way to the back. And let's rotate him. There's a camera. Now, right now, there'll be something like light handles for camera handles. I just didn't add them. So the camera's going to be in the scene when I go save this. But I'll also make it so you can hide the camera. And you can change all kinds of situations. You can see, you can click switch to free camera to see what it'll look like. So that's where it's going to be now. Click it back off. So that's so you can actually see what you'll be seeing. But if I want to do that, I'll show that, I can change some of the things. Like I can change the vignette, so I can change the camera settings. So that's what this is for. Contrast, saturation, bloom, ambient occlusion, global illumination, depth of field, motion blur, and so on. So I'm going to switch back to my main camera. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. So I've got lights, I've got cameras, I got action. Lights, camera, action, I call this sprint. So here we go. Let's save this to test props, even though it's more than props. And I'm going to save him. And now I can get out. And now let's say, what does that do? That means if I was going to get back in the game, I could have backed out of the menu. I probably just should have instead of restarted it. But I could have backed out to the main menu by closing it instead of closing the whole window. So now I have to restart it. That was dumb. But anyway, I did it. So here it is. It's restarted. I'm going to host, and I'll host my T event, whatever. And there's going to be something down here called test props, and I'll host. And it will take me to the test props custom level I just saved. And you'll see in that, where am I? There's Granddad cheering. Giant Granddad cheering. There's the camera. Now, like I said, I'll hide the camera. See, the lights are hidden. The light handles, or the props that you can click and select, because you can't click and select on anything inside of hosting. That was one of the changes I made. So there's no ray tracing going on inside of hosting. In hosting, if I use ray tracing, I'll be feeling like shooting guns, down the road, or interacting with, like picking things up, and putting it, for the avatar to hold, that kind of stuff, or clicking buttons. But it won't be to select a prop and move it. That'll be only to edit. So there I sit, and then changing the cameras right now is hotkeyed. So it's Control plus a number. So you can have up to 10 cameras. So I'll go Control 1, and there it changed my camera thing. And so this will be the way that you can control cameras in Edit now, in playing the game. And that's for shooting, making movies and stuff inside of the game. Now I only have cut cameras right now, which means it just switches the camera. I'll add dolly cameras as one of the options going down the road too, so it'll transition from the current camera position to the second one, like a dolly camera does. And I'll also add the ability to, just like I can create a light show, you'll be able to create a camera show. So basically sequence a set of camera movements. The Control 0 gets me back to my third-person character setting. So that's the changes I made in Sprint 0.1. A lot of code to get that to work. It's a lot of code that I'd written previously for my Poser Unreal Portal, but I had to go adapt it so it would work inside of this framework. So that took a couple weeks. Then on to the other things. The next, just as an aside, on 1.1.2, it's going to be all about avatars. This is where I'm going to start looking at RPM more in depth, of things to do with RPM avatars, including crouch and jump, and adding animations and getting comfortable with more animations and building them myself instead of just using Mixamo ones. I want to try the add or change the speed of the walk to run using the scroll wheel on the mouse, like they do in Scum. I'm going to look at caching avatars and RPM to make it faster, and a whole bunch of stuff. I got a whole bunch of things that I want to look at in the game. So that next sprint will be 2 weeks, just working on RPM characters. The sprint after that, I'm going to be concentrating on fake dance events. So I'll be in there, maybe making a couple more visual effects, but also just building some light shows and doing some more testing. I'll probably put my surround screen that I've got like in my in Sansar in there. So a number of things that I want to do about that. Then after that, the 1.1.4 sprint is, or the 0.1.4 sprint is going to be all about content, building out some templates, and I would invite everybody's help with that as well. In terms of, I was going to go ahead and apply my skills as a 3D modeler to fix up some of the basic templates to build some template clubs to start with, and I was going to have a half a dozen of them, and they're just basically shells where you could go add things to them as a club owner. All right, that's Sprint 0.1.1, so release 1, well underway.